Now let's take a look at the labor estimate. There's not as much for you to do here. It's actually calculating labor is far more complex. You really have to know the operations and what's going on to be able to do it. And everybody has their own labor management and labor accounting methods. But I just want to go over one with you and then let you, figure out how many wall modules there, window modules, and door modules there will be, and just get a number and put it in here. So you can see that much of this is the same, but instead of the material, it says set the sill plate. Somebody has to pick that piece of wood up and put it on the ground in the right position to then set the studs. You have to measure them off at a certain distance. Usually there's some blocking that does that, and nail them in from one side. Then they set the bottom plate of the sill plate and nail those in. Then, somebody fastens the insulation into place. Sometimes that's after, sometimes that's later on. It doesn't always happen all at once. Usually there's some wallboard or some exterior finish put up before you do that. But somebody's going to do it, and somebody puts the wrap on, and somebody puts the sealant on. Those don't all happen at the same time. Different people can do it at different phases of the construction. But to make this wall module, those things would happen. So there's setting things in place, there's fastening things, there's applying things. Those are all things that somebody does. And since somebody does those, we have to account for their time so that they get paid. Now, I want to show you this. Cost at $75 an hour. Very rarely will the framers get $75 an hour. That's a lot of money for a framer. Many places estimate this as what they call a standard overhead cost. So that includes more than just paying the person who's going to be doing the work. It includes workers' compensation, insurance, and probably some accounting that goes into doing things. There's all sorts of overhead that is put in often at this standard hourly rate. And then if the person who's doing it makes 22 an hour or 25 an hour or 30 an hour, it's all consumed inside of this bigger number that has other things put in it. Now, some places don't do that. They put in the actual number for the person who's going to be doing this work, and they account for their overhead at other places, okay, in other parts of the cost estimate. But I'm going to do this this is a pretty standard, easy to do way, and it's a quick estimate. So that's why that number is $75 an hour. You think that that's very high, but when you factor in many other things, that takes account of a lot of your business operation. So you're going to set the sill plate once, and these hours, I've got it turned into minutes, 1/60th of an hour. It doesn't take too long to set that down in place and then to set those studs. And then applying the fasteners is very fast. It's like bink, 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 bink. If you've seen the framers do that, they've got that whole thing fastened in an instant. So I've got like 15, 20 seconds to do it. They're very fast. Now I don't have blocking and some of that other stuff, but it's still a good estimate. Okay, they're going to drive 50 nails in almost no time at all. Same with fasten the insulation. They've got to roll out that 48 feet and cut it and fasten it in with a stapler. It doesn't take too long. So there's 48 feet, and each feet takes 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. Doesn't take too long. So these hours are all very, very small. Some places prefer to do minutes, but rarely do you see cost per minute. You usually see cost per hour. So that means this column, if you want to just do a quick multiplication, cost per hour times how many hours is your cost, right? And so, you know, that's what we've got there. Okay, that's 75 times however many hours. And the subtotal, sometimes there are factors that go on to here that, have to do with, am I making one and that takes me a long time, or I'm making 100 and it doesn't take me as long per. So I've used this subtotal just equals this. But this subtotal column is often, it's zero point 0.8 times however many of them you've got, if you've got a lot of them being done. So that's how that works. There's how many, how long it takes, and then a cost at some price. And those all add up into a module labor, paying somebody to do this. Okay, it could be paying 2 people to do it. You'll just take account of that. That's in the total number of hours. These are people hours, not duration hours. It might take a long time to build this because they do a little part and then it sets for a couple hours or a day. Then they do another part and it sets for a couple hours in a day. This is how long somebody actually spends hands-on with this. And the same thing happens for a window and same thing happens for a door. You can just look it over and see if you can make sense of it. So, and this is all done for you. I've done it. You don't have to do any work on this part. It's all very straightforward and simple. Your job then is to look and see these to see if I've got them pretty close to right. And then to, again, use this design that you see down here. And you can get a bigger version of it so you can see it better. That's much easier to see. And just do your modules. And that's really what this unit is about, what this exercise or this assignment. I'm not calculating every single little action. I'm breaking it up into groups that seem pretty common. And whenever I build a wall, it's kind of the same way. And yes, when I put in a window, I'll make some cuts and I'll put in a header, but those are all in these times. And when I put in a door, I'll do the same thing. It's a way of accounting things with preset segments of the design. And those are called modules. You may not actually make a module. Okay? They're just a way of grouping pieces of material or operations that we do. Okay, so again, you can take a picture of this and put it in your workbook. And there you go. That's your labor estimate spreadsheet.